SKAN network is old news. AdAttributionKit is the new kid in class. Does that mean all your hard-won knowledge about Apple's privacy is obsolete? The good news? No, sir. The other good news, there is some new stuff in AAK, which, yes, does mean you need to learn some new stuff, which seems like bad news at first glance. But don't worry. First of all, it's pretty minor. Secondly, it's all good stuff. It's extra functionality that makes SKAN better, or AAK better. You know what I mean. And third, it probably won't matter for a very long time anyways. More on that later. Okay, let's start here. What's the same? Apple says that AAK is 100% fully interoperable with SKAN network. That means that if you know SKAN, you know AAK. What are the key points of similarity? Well, both are privacy-preserving methods of attribution that live largely on device and that send notifications to marketers and ad networks about the effectiveness of their advertising. Plus, both have 7 things in common. They both have 3 separate postbacks, 3 opportunities to give you insight into ad effectiveness. They both have coarse and fine conversion values. Fine conversion values have up to 64 values. Coarse conversion values have 1 of 3 possible values. The first postback in both cases is fine, giving you more granular data if you have enough install volume per campaign. And the second and third postbacks can only be coarse conversion values. Both also have crowd anonymity governing how much data marketers get. And just as I said, more volume gets you more granular data. In SKAN 3, this is privacy thresholds. In SKAN 4, it is called crowd anonymity. In AAK, it has the same name. Both also have random delays before postbacks get fired. There are 3 conversion windows from which you can get data. Postback 1 has a window of 0 to 2 days, postback 2, 3 to 7 days, postback 3, 8 to 35 days, plus each has an added random delay, 0 to 24 hours after the conversion window, so that you can't reverse engineer SKAN or AAK and break privacy. Both also have conversion value locking. So if you think you've got all the data you need before a conversion period is complete, you can lock the conversion value and get it faster. That still has a random delay built in. Both also have source identifiers. That's campaign information about the ad that you're getting data on. And both also have app ID, now called advertised item ID, which is about which app you're advertising. So if you're paying attention to all these points of similarity, then you've probably picked up on something else important. AAK might be 100% compatible with SKAN network, but it's an upgrade to the most recent version of SKAN network, which of course is SKAN 4, not SKAN 3. AAK is still compatible with SKAN 3 in the sense that SKAN 4 is compatible with SKAN 3, but it's built on top of SKAN 4. In fact, AAK is essentially SKAN 5, the SKAN 5 we kind of expected for a year or so. What that means is if you're still kind of just functioning on SKAN 3, there is a bit of an upgrade curve just because there's all the new SKAN 4 features. And if that's the case, Singular has a ton of on-demand webinars you can check out, a SKAN 3 to SKAN 4 guide you can read, and way too many blog posts you can skim through to get it all figured out. Okay, so that's what's the same. What about what's different? Yep, there are some significant differences. In fact, there are 5 major differences between SKAN network, even version 4, and AdAttributionKit. It's actually 6 if you understand the full scope of AAK, because AAK is actually 2 different things. There's app AdAttributionKit and there's web AdAttributionKit. App AAK is the new SKAN network, and it's for mobile app install attribution, just as we've always known. Web AAK is the new private click measurement, which is an attribution framework for the Safari browser. It works fairly similarly to SKAN and AAK on the mobile side, but it really hasn't been significantly updated in 3 years. So we can probably expect more from Apple on that at some point. And in case you're wondering, yeah, it does actually matter. Safari has about a 30% market share globally for mobile browsing, and that hits 54% in iOS-heavy countries like the US. So Safari is not something you can completely ignore. But when it comes to mobile attribution, there are 5 key differences between AdAttributionKit and SKAN. First is it's built for multiple app stores. The biggest and most significant change is that AdAttributionKit is built for a different world, a world of multiple app stores, thanks to the EU and its Digital Markets Act. That means there's now a new marketplace identifier, which will indicate which app marketplace an app install came from. Does this really matter now? Of course not. There aren't any significant or any real third-party app stores out there for iOS, even in the EU right now. But after the EU and Apple fight a bit more about the terms around third-party app stores and becomes not totally financially insane to run a third-party app store, then it will likely start to matter. Second, re-engagement support is here at last. One of the most requested features for SKAN 3 or 4 was re-engagement support, which has now arrived. No, this doesn't mean anything like audiences for retargeting or anything like that. It's simply measurement support. The new conversion type field in AdAttributionKit can have one of 3 different values: download, re-download, or re-engagement. Third, AAK has support for multiple creative types. In SKAN, an ad is an ad is an ad. AdAttributionKit, however, has explicit differentiation in both displaying ads and attributing conversion by creative type. So there's 3 kinds. One is what Apple calls a clickable custom creative. Think a banner ad, an image ad, anything like that. It could be different things as well. This is an ad anywhere that leads to any app marketplace. There's a maximum of 15 minutes between when the app impression instance is called or initialized and when a tap or a click can be registered. Note that for a custom click ad, viewing it does not create an impression. The only measurement modality here is a click. The second type of ad creative that AAK understands is view-through ads, and those can be videos, maybe playables, other things like that. They can be anywhere, lead to any app marketplace. They must be displayed for a minimum of 2 seconds in order to generate potential view-through attribution. The same ad network cannot have multiple open view-through ad presentations for the same advertised app at the same time. And in terms of measurement modalities, view-through ads can only result in views, not clicks. There's a third kind of creative or ad type that Apple has talked about under AAK, and they're calling it recommendations. And that's basically an in-app app listing feature. So it's in an app, and it brings in an app listing from the App Store. So SK Overlay is an example. That's a small view into an app listing page. There's also SK Store Product View Controller, which is a larger, more full-screen version of the app listing page. While Apple doesn't explicitly say so, these likely only work with the original App Store. Recommendations are kind of unique under AAK because while the other 2 creative types have only 1 measurement modality each, recommendations have 2. Recommendations register a view when they pop up, and they register a click when they are tapped. So clearly, using either SK Overlay or SK Store Product View Controller is going to be very powerful under AAK, perhaps even more so than it is currently under SKAN. As you can see, regardless of what creative type is happening here, AAK only supports 2 types of ad interaction, a click and a view. Would have been interesting to see something else, like maybe play for a playable. Maybe for AAK too? Who knows? Fourth, AAK has deep links. If advertisers want to opt into re-engagement measurement, they can add the eligible for re-engagement flag to the code that displays an ad. Frankly, I don't see why you wouldn't do this. There's no downside, and it just adds an extra element of measurement that provides valuable information. If that re-engagement flag is present and AdAttributionKit detects that the app being advertised is already installed, it can then open the app to a specific screen using universal links. Fifth, there's now a new developer mode in AAK, which is really, really good news. It's generally hard to test SKAdNetwork today because of the postback delays, long conversion windows. Developers have to wait a long time to find out if what they did worked. Now, Apple will allow you to set a developer mode for AdAttributionKit, which will remove the time randomization, shorten the conversion windows, and send postbacks much quicker. Other than this, AAK and SKAN4 are basically the same. Okay, so we talked about what is the same. We talked about what's different. Third thing we're going to talk about is, hey, does it all really matter? That's an important question. Here's what we need to remember when we answer this question. AdAttributionKit, like SKAdNetwork, is a framework. It's not an app. It's not a standalone product. It's a bunch of software and a bunch of rules. To be effective, both SKAN and AAK need to be implemented not only by Apple on iOS devices, but also by ad networks and advertisers. In other words, it's a complex beast. There's a reason that 2 years later, SKAN4 is still not widely adopted. And if you look at which ad tech companies are adopting SKAN4 and therefore are the most likely to adopt AdAttributionKit, it's the independents. The big ad platforms, the walled gardens, they have adapted to the post-IDFA era with their own modeling-based measurement, their own first-party data, their own tools and data that they own, that they control. And they have limited incentive to play in Apple's backyard by Apple's rules. So yeah, AAK is the future. Just don't hold your breath.